Amy, Andy, Darren, very well.
Ed and John.
Good. Two massive games to talk about. You've played in both of them. Did you enjoy them on the same level, or maybe the Old Firm derby was that little bit noisier?
I think me being a Celtic supporter as a kid growing up, I think the Glasgow derby was the bigger one for me, but I enjoyed the Merseyside derby as well. I think it's friendlier. Two clubs seem to get on a little bit better than the two Glasgow clubs do, but two massive fixtures, massive.
The gap between the two sides, do you think the game is more difficult to call north of the border than it is going to be south of the border?
Yeah, well, obviously I think going into the Liverpool one, Liverpool are the favourites. Everton are struggling with confidence, struggling to score goals. Liverpool, not the greatest start, I've got to say. They're struggling as well with injuries. But you've got to fancy Liverpool. I just hope Everton get off to a good start. Home fans, it's important. I think they press Liverpool, don't sit off them. Try and make it high tempo, try and get that first goal and get the crowd behind them. That's the way I would play it, was Frank. Celtic Rangers, difficult one to call, but Celtic on fine form, scoring lots of goals. Great for Scottish football, both teams in the Champions League. There's a real buzz about the city up there. But Celtic being at home, money's on Celtic.
That's what I was going to say, John. You mentioned it there about both teams being in the Champions League, and that is good for Scottish football. I know if you support either team, you're probably thinking, no, you don't want to see the other one, but how big is it for Scottish football that you've got two of your giants both in Champions League?
Well, Champions League is the ultimate tournament, no matter what anybody says. We haven't been in it, both teams haven't been in it for a number of years, and for them both to get in the same season, great groups, the draws they've got, is really exciting. Rangers, all credit to them, they've had to go through the two qualifying rounds. They've done very well, and Celtic's performance, obviously winning the title last year's got them there. But the Champions League, special nights. I've been to many at Celtic Park. I haven't been to any at Ibrox, but they're special evenings up north.
So when you're a player playing in these, as I mentioned, you played in both of them, is the pressure the same?
I think there's pressure and expectation going into a derby. You want to win for first and foremost for yourself and your teammates, but obviously the supporters, it means so much to them to get that victory and the bragging nights heading into work on the Monday morning. It means so much to supporters. Liverpool, as it is in Glasgow, it's massive for the fans.
Do you think, I hear the expression form goes out the window for derbies? I think it used to maybe 5-6 years ago and beyond, but nowadays I think if there's a gulf between the two teams, I don't think it matters if it's a derby anymore. I think 9 times out of 10 the better team will always get the result. Do you agree with that or not?
Yes, I agree with it. Totally. I think the disappointing thing about the Glasgow derby these days is the away supporters numbers have been cut, which is disappointing for the atmosphere in the stadium. I think Rangers obviously started it a number of years ago. They stopped the Celtic fans coming into Ibrox, and vice versa. Celtic have done it, so that's disappointing. I'd love to see that rectified by both clubs and get more away supporters into the stadium, but both teams going into it in Glasgow in good form. As I say, Celtic scoring for fun week in, week out, really creative. And Rangers, all credit to the manager. They've sold probably their two better players in the summer. Bassey went to Ajax, and Aribo to Southampton, and they brought in a few players in the summer. But again, people thought they wouldn't qualify for the Champions League, but all credit to the manager. He's guided them through, and obviously had a great European run last year as well. But for me, Celtic, the manager, Ange Postecoglou, what a signing he's been for the football club since he's come in. The signings he's made, probably nobody's heard of. The style of football he's got the team playing week in, week out. The Celtic fans are absolutely delighted, and they're watching really, really good football, attacking football.
Is the team talk totally different before a derby match than it is for any other game? Because I'm guessing you don't really need one. If you can't get out for a derby, you're not going to get out for any game, right?
Yeah, the manager doesn't have to do any motivational talks for a derby. Any supporter or anybody who thinks that's the case, it's the exact opposite. You have to calm players down going into a derby. The last thing you want to do is fire them up and they dive into tackles early in the game and get booked. Football's changed. It's not like the old days. You could nail somebody the first couple of minutes and get away with it. These days, football's more about technique and intelligence than smashing and flying into tackles. And that's one thing you've got to guard against as a manager and as a player in an Old Firm derby, is getting caught up in it. You want the aggression, but it's got to be controlled aggression. If it's not controlled, then every chance a reckless tackle costs your team dear.
Yeah, John, going back to the Merseyside derby in Everton, as you said there a little bit earlier, they haven't got off to the best of starts, as you'd say. Do you fear for them a little bit? I mean, in the window, the January window, the summer window, sorry, they've recruited quite well, I think, the likes of talkSPORT, Connor Cody. But do you think there's still enough? Because the question marks are still on Frank Lampard. Is he good enough to lead this Everton side away from the relegation zone? But do you fear for Everton a little bit, or do you think they'll be fine?
Well, I think Frank Lampard, when I hear him, I think he's a smart guy. He was an excellent player. He's a young coach. And what young coaches need, they need time. They need patience. Everton fans have got to get behind the manager and get behind the team. It's a difficult time. I think the last 5 years, Everton have wasted a lot of money on players, paid over the odds on transfer fees and salaries. They've got it wrong big time. And it proves you money doesn't buy success. It's in England. There's so many teams with lots of money, and the hard part is spending it wisely. And Everton haven't spent money wisely in the last 5 years. But that's not Frank. Frank's again. He's got a tighter budget. He's brought Idrissa Gueye back from Paris. He's 32, but hopefully he's still got a good couple of years in him. He'll sit in front of the back four. He's calm, wins the ball and keeps it simple. James Garner, I don't know too much about him, but I believe he was excellent for Forest in the promotion push last year. Mumpai, we'll see. He's scored goals for Brighton. Obviously missing Calvert-Lewin, so it's going to be tough for Everton. But my message to the Everton fans would be: your team needs you more than any time. Young manager. He's got a tough job, but get behind him and the players tomorrow.
Out of all four managers, do you think he needs the result the most?
Well, yes, because he's down towards the bottom of the league, but it's early in the season. I think we've got to be calm as pundits and ex-players and supporters talking about sackings and managers being under pressure. I think that comes too early, too soon in football these days. And often radio shows and TV shows, we like to make discussions, and sometimes I think it puts a lot of pressure.
I don't like where you're aiming that, John.
Sorry, guys. And me as a pundit, I like to give managers time and patience early in the season. They need time to get their new players bedded into their system and get working on the training pitch.
But Benty made a point before. He said, do you think they've got enough to stay clear of the bottom three? But after 5 games, that shouldn't be the conversation about Everton, should it? Frank Lampard's aim should be at minimum top 10, right? A club as big as Everton?
I'm not so sure about that.
Wow. What do you think it should be then?
Well, I think at this moment in time, I think maybe 12, 13, away from relegation. I think they should be away from relegation. But again, he's kind of rebuilding again. He's got injured his key striker. They've not got a huge squad, and now they've not got the huge money they've had in the past to sign players. So it's a harder job now than it was 5 years ago. I think the Everton job, the previous manager had lots of money to spend. That's not the case with the financial fair play for Frank. So people have got to remember that now. And on the other side of the city, you've got Jurgen Klopp. He's been there for years. He's got a fantastic group of players. He's signed lots of them, most of them. They're fully confident with winning leagues and titles. So it's a tough one for Frank tomorrow. Okay,
I'm going to put you on the spot now. You don't have to mention your both former clubs unless you absolutely believe in it. But Celtic against Rangers kicks off 12:30. Everton against Liverpool at the same time. That's live and exclusive on talkSPORT. Who will win both games, John?
I think Celtic will win. I think they're in fine form.
Okay.
They're scoring lots of goals and they're at home. I think current form and looking at the starting 11s, I think Liverpool, sadly I don't like saying it, but I think they're highly likely they'll get the victory against Everton. But I hope not.
9-0?
I hope not.
9-0.
Certainly not 9-0.
What, more?
No. It will be close. It'll be close.
Okay. John, listen, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on. Enjoy the weekend. What, are you at a game?
No, I'm over in France at the moment on holiday, but I'll be watching. Don't worry about that.
Oh, très bien. Okay, well, listen, enjoy it. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great weekend, and we'll speak to you in a bit.
Thanks, John.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
There you go, former Celtic and Everton midfielder John Collins. How do you see both games going? Celtic against Rangers.
I see a 1-1 draw in that one.
Yeah, they're very close. I think they've won all the games apart from Rangers, one draw out of the 10, which is a bit nuts. But
and I think Liverpool will beat Everton.
Do you?
Yeah.
Convincingly?
Yeah, relatively. I don't know, the scoreline might not be crazy, but I think it'll be quite a comfortable victory for Liverpool.
If Liverpool smash Everton, right?
Yeah.
And they could, okay. And Man City smash Aston Villa, and they could we be talking on Monday about Lampard and Gerrard looking for new jobs?
For whatever reason, I still think that Frank Lampard's got a little bit more time than Steven Gerrard, because the fans have not turned on him yet, whereas they're booing and making themselves clear as day at Aston Villa. So It's going to be tough. But you don't get sacked on games against Liverpool, and
no, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
You
but
shouldn't.
I guess it's a combination of confidence, the start of the season. Two tough fixtures.
Okay, they
for
are
Steven
indeed.
Gerrard and Frank Lampard, that is.
They are indeed.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.